Hello everyone and welcome to the party Devlog. As you can probably tell from the game board, a lot has changed this time around, so let's jump right into it. First of all, I still haven't finished all the board spaces. I know there were only 2 left last time and I said I would wrap them up, but there is a good reason I didn't. I'll get to that in a minute. Before that, I want to quickly talk about a new tool I did to the project, Quantum Console. I know about this tool since the start. Lots of indie and solo devs use it for multiplayer projects. But I never realized how useful it actually was until now. The biggest thing holding me back in this project was iteration speed and debugging. Say I wanted the player to land on a specific space. I used to go to the script and change the dice roll manually. Not a huge deal, but definitely not ideal. And even worse, when a bug happened outside of Unity, in the build itself, it was very hard to track. There is no console in the build, so I had to dig through logs or hope I could reproduce the same bug in the editor. Quantum Console solves both of these problems. As you can see, it adds an in-game console to the build that shows all debug messages. You can also create your own console commands, like cheat codes, to use during runtime. I'll drop the link to the tool in the description if you want to check that. Now let me show you how the cheat commands works. You'll notice I added some tiny images to the game board. It's looking a bit prettier now, though these are still just placeholders. I was just running autocolors and need a clear way to show space types, but anyway. These white tiles are the new temple spaces. Since I want to show you how they work, I'll make the player land on the closest one, which is 12 spaces away. Now in the console, I type sets move dice. It is a command I added using Quantum Console. Then I add the number I want from the dice and press enter. Now the next dice roll will be 12 and let's see. Yep, it's 12. When you land on a temple space, you get 2 options as always. Let me pull that out. Okay. You can pay 50 gold to receive the blessing from temple, or you can just walk away. The blessing gives an attack and defense modifier for 3 rounds, as it says here. Let's just buy it. There it go. We got our modifiers. I know the UI is getting a little crowded, but I'll clean that up later. Now, you might be wondering how those modifiers actually work. So let me explain the new skill roll system first. Before, when you use the skill, it dealt fixed damage, whatever was written on here. But since I want to add a bit more of that D&D flavor and some unpredictability, now whenever you use a skill, you roll a d20. There is no crit or miss system, but the result boosts to damage by a percentage. So a roll of 20 means a 20% increased damage, or a 10 means 10% increase, and so on. A roll of 1 is the exception. It gives no bonus at all, because 1% doesn't really mean anything. It just deals the base damage written on the skill. Now, this is a PvP game, so you might ask, doesn't that make the things too luck-based? And I would say, well, all board games have a bit of luck, but since the bonuses are very small, like a 20% boost on a 20 damage skill is just 24, it's not a game breaking. It's more about skills, about a little extra damage when you need it. But more importantly, you'll be able to manipulate your dice rolls, and that's where the modifiers come in. This mechanic is also inspired by D&D. Stat buffs and debuffs exist in all RPGs, but I wanted something that fits the board game vibe better. Something that can only be done in a board game, like manipulating the dice. So instead of directly increasing or decreasing damage, modifiers in Slated Party affect your dice roll range. For example, if you have +3 attack, the result of your attack roll will be increased by 3, but not more than 20. In other words, D20 roll shifts to a range of 4 to 20 instead of 1 to 20. On the other hand, defense modifiers, which obviously I didn't pick the best color, shrinks the opponent's max roll. So if someone targets you and you have +3 defense, they roll between 1 and 17 instead of 1 and 20. Modifiers can also be negative, making enemies hit less or take more damage. Just like in classic RPGs, stat modifiers will be the core to the skill system. That's why I want to get the system in place before building out more advanced skills. It'll make things easier down the line. Now, let me show it in action. It is easier to test on players than creatures since the damage number will be more clear, but since you can attack these in starting scale, I'll pass a few turns, so I end turn here. Take the quest. This time I'll set the dice to 10 to bring players closer. Let's roll. And turn. And let's move this by 1. I don't care about this creature. Oops, okay, I forget that you can also target them in the bonfire. Let me just move this one by 1 more square. Okay, now we are with them. Very sorry about that. But now we are good. As you can see, this skill says it deals 15 damage. I use another command I created to set the attack roll to, let's say 10. Now 10 means damage will be increased by 10%. Let's choose our skill, pick our target, and roll. As you can see, we get 13. This is because we had a +3 attack modifier. And instead of dealing 15, we dealt whatever 13% of that is. I know it's not super obvious in-game how the modifier affects the roll. So let me quickly show how it works in the script. Okay, in the damage player roll method, which is here, I take the player's attack and defense modifiers, which is here, and adjust roll range by adding or subtracting the values. The first part of the if clause checks if we have set a dice value through the console. That could be written better, I'll admit, but anyway. The second part handles regular dice rolls. Then I adjust the edge cases like when min and max values in the range overlap or they are equal. And I will that's pretty much it for this devlog. I also done a lot of refactoring, especially on the decision making system, but I don't think it's worth going into detail here. As you saw, the temple spaces, skill rolls, and modifiers are all tightly connected, so I wanted to cover them together instead of finishing up the last 2 board spaces at once. Next time, I'll work on another important part of the skill system, targeting, and the final board space that ties into it. Until now, skills could only target units like players or creatures. But what if we could target a board space, or multiple spaces? We'll see that in the next devlog. Until then, thanks for watching and take care.